Now we're going to welcome to the stage Wei. He is the CPO of Talabat. So please, a huge round of applause.
Good afternoon, everybody. Are you excited? You excited to be here? Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Wei. I have been in the region now for the last 6 years. I live in Dubai. And every time I come back to Egypt, I'm super excited. This is one of my favorite places to be. Thank you all so much for being here. It's clear that there's so much interest and so much passion and so much energy in the world of product and tech and design and data. And it's just really inspiring to see all of you here. You know, I've been to so many different conferences around the globe. You know, I was at Mind the Product in San Francisco recently, ProductCon in London. But there's something about the conferences in Egypt that for me, it's a very special place. So today I want to talk a bit about the past, present, and future of product management and how our discipline is evolving. Yeah. And I think that our discipline is evolving very quickly. So we'll be going through a bit of that. But firstly, I want to introduce myself and a little bit about what I do. So my name is Wei. I've been at Talabat now for the last 5 years. And I've had the luxury of building this product organization and tech organization from a team of 100 to about 500 to where it is today. And along the way, I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes. And hopefully today, I get to share some of those learnings and mistakes with you so that, you know, there's something that you can benefit as well. At the same time, I've started an Instagram channel 3 days ago called Product with Wei. So if you want to give that a follow or tag me in any of your videos, do feel free to do that. But first, I want to talk to you about my 3 favorite things about Egypt. So I actually have been in Egypt. This is probably my 12th time in Egypt. I actually came here for the first time with a company called Property Finder. At the time, I was responsible for launching the Egypt product. And with Talabat and having our tech hub here, I've also come here a lot for the company. But here are my 3 absolute favorite things about Egypt that you may or may not know about me. Firstly, I'm a diver. I scuba dive a lot. I'm a dive master, actually, so I take a lot of people out diving. And Egypt today has one of the best diving in the world with the Sharm el-Sheikh or the Red Sea. I had sort of my best diving I've ever done in Egypt, so you guys are amazing at that. But beyond that, you also have a lot of great food. Do you know what this is and where this is? So... A few years ago, the team took me to El Prince for the first time. I was like, wow, what an experience. I was told they were closed down for a while, so hopefully they've reopened because I would really love to go again. And I discovered my love for Mulcahy. And my daughter, who is now 2.5, is also in love with it. So we make it at home now. I chop the leaves, we make it with chicken. I'm all in. I'm all in Egyptian cuisine. But most importantly, and this is one of my favorite parts about Egypt, is the community. Every time I come back, whether I do a conference or whether I do a tech talk at Talabat, the thing that never fails is how warm the community is, how committed the community is, and how awesome it is that everyone has such a growth and learning mindset to want to grow and expand into whatever discipline they're in. At the end of the day, we're in discipline in a world in tech and product that's relatively new. The practice is not very mature as a whole. There's no university that teaches product management. There's no undergrad in product management. Design as we know it has had probably 3 or 4 evolutions over the last 10 years. So it's changing a lot, and it's very important to build a community that allows for that growth to happen. Now, why is that important? And why do I think that that's a recipe for Egypt's tech success? And how does that tie into what we want to do here at Talabat and what I have a mission to do? My mission here and why I'm here today, why when Omar gave me a call and said, hey, do you want to be a speaker at this conference? I said, absolutely, because I have a mission to build Cairo as the best tech hub in the MENA region. And I think all the ingredients are absolutely there. At the end of my talk today, I'll explain a little bit about an initiative that will actually be running at Talabat, which I think will really support the growth of Cairo as the largest tech hub in the region. So I'm really excited to be here. So let's jump in it. Are we ready? Yes? All right, let's go. So a bit about Talabat. If you don't know, we're actually a 20-year-old company. in food delivery. But do you know that there's another company that's been in food delivery for longer? Do you know what company that is? Take a guess. Odlob. Odlob actually predates Talabat and actually is a much older company than Talabat, but Odlob is now part of the Talabat family. I've been fortunate enough to join Talabat in about 5 years ago. In sort of the regional growth that we've had. We are in 8 different markets today, and we have 2 tech hubs here in Cairo and one in Dubai. We've been really fortunate to grow along with the region and also learn a lot about how to build products for the region. The reality is that the region is unique, whether in logistics or whether in regional nuances between Iraq, the UAE, and Egypt. You have to be very specific about that. I'm fortunate enough to do that. Very recently, we've had our IPO in Dubai financial markets in December of last year. So now I'm also learning of what it's like to be a CPO at a publicly listed company. And maybe in a year, I'll come back and share a little bit how that experience is about. But today, what I want to talk about is what I obsess about on a day-to-day. So you don't recognize this screen probably, but this is what Talabat and actually what Odlob also used to look like in February of 2020 when I joined Talabat. It's almost unrecognizable now. When you open the app today, this is what we look like. At the time, in 2020, we were a food delivery company. That's all we did. And when I joined, the company said, hey, maybe grocery delivery is a good idea. Maybe that's something that we should get into. And today we do food, we do groceries, we have a subscription product, we're in fintech, and most recently in the UAE, we also have a dine-out product. So we've gone from sort of a single vertical company to expanding to multiple verticals to serve different parts of our ecosystem. My job is to always be dissatisfied a little bit and always be a bit unhappy about the state of the world. When I joined in 2020, I said, is that really the best that we can do? And we challenged the status quo and pushed our business forward. In today, as we launch this product, I'm still thinking about how dissatisfied that we can be and, how much we can continue to push this business and think about that. So my entire thesis and reason for existence at Talabat is to constantly push the envelope and needle to say, where do we want to be in the next 3 to 5 years? And the culture that we're building, the ways of working that we're building, and how we build product management, design, and engineering, and data, and the business revolves around answering that question of what's next. So let me walk you through how we do that. So I've lived through quite a bit of a transformation in product. I've been fortunate enough to now have worked in product for more than a decade in big companies and small companies alike. I started my career in Microsoft and IBM. And I remember when I was in IBM, the role of the PM was this Agile Transformation leader. Remember, Agile wasn't always a thing. We were doing 1-year releases at IBM back in the days, and we were trying to move towards, 4 releases a year on a CD, right? So my job at the time as in the product organization was actually about running sprints, doing retrospectives, doing story points if we still do those. The role of the PM was to really help that transformation in the organization. And then as time went on, over the last 5-6 years, there was a big push towards PMs not just being the process person, but being the customer's best advocate. Amazon popularized this by, in their meetings, putting the name of the customer in one of the seats to say, what does the customer want? And let's work backwards from what the customer wants. But more recently, what we've been doing at Talabat is talking a bit about how product teams should be there to build product-led companies and to drive product-led solutions. And what does that mean? It sounds like it's a grand vision, but let me break it down to you about what it means to build a product-led organization. 5 key things. Number 1, it's where the product organization is not there to serve the business. The product is the business. At the end of the day, your product decisions and your business decisions are so intertwined. Your business model very much affects your product model. Your product model very much affects the business model. So how can you consider that very separately? And when you think about your product organization as this, team in the basement somewhere, in the background somewhere, shipping Jira tickets, you miss out on the fact that the best product organizations are one where the product decisions and the business decisions are very much all in the same. Secondly, the product team is there to solve all problems. At Talabat, I feel like the only team we don't fully solve problems for is probably the legal team, right? We actually have a billing team that optimizes for the way that we do billing. We have vendor onboarding. We sort of serve all parts of our marketplace and our ecosystem because we believe that the product team's role is to really uplift using technology every single part of the experience, whether inside of our company and outside of the company. Third is a mindset of experimentation. If you speak to our designers and PMs in the company, they'll tell you that every part of the business is obsessed over testing ideas, right? It may be a commercial test on pricing. It may be a commercial test on how we should be doing discounts. It may be tests on how we show time ranges on the app that affects both logistics and our shopping experience. But this mindset of experimentation is very much something that we want to embed in a product-led organization. Fourth is product discovery, where we admit that we don't really fully know where we want to be as a company. There are some things that are sure wins because we've known it for now 20 years, but there are some new areas that we're trying to explore and figure out. But product discovery is not the job of just a researcher, not just the job of a product manager. Product discovery is done across the entire business. And lastly is long-termism, to think about the vision of the company and where we want to be and make sure that we build towards that, as opposed to just thinking about week after week, project after project, Jira ticket after Jira ticket, what we want to ship. So that's what we've been obsessing about building on. And I'll show you what that looks like at Talabat. It's where the Spotify squad model, as we call it, actually has evolved, where it's not just a trio of product and engineering and design, but we very much have combined the world of product engineering design and also the business. Again, the business decisions and product decisions are often deeply intertwined. If you want to change pricing and significantly change that, guess what? The product experience has to change. If the product experience does something, it also probably has a business impact. So how do you couple those decisions together and actually experiment together as a group and work together as a team? We're obsessed over building that at Talabat. And that looks a bit like this. This is when I joined Talabat, we had actually the idea of a dine-out product. Unfortunately, we didn't ship it for a very long time because of COVID and people weren't really going out. But this world here is where you see engineers, designers, product managers sitting with our commercial lead, Thais over here, going downstairs to one of our cafes called Costa, where we had the restaurant owner and also the barista testing out a prototype workflow of what a diner product would look like. But what don't you see here? You don't see the business team having an idea and saying, product team, go build it. What you don't see is a PM and designer designing something and going to an engineering team and saying, build it. What you see is a full team across the commercial teams, across the product teams, across the engineering teams, across the design teams coming together and discovering different aspects of the opportunity and different aspects of the problem together. That's where the power of building a product-led organization looks like. That's the power of everyone bringing a unique lens, perhaps an engineering one, perhaps a design-centric one, perhaps a commercial one, to build the best product that serves that customer, that sits in the heart of why we exist. So it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. Because what ends up happening is that we're able to do things like this, where if you look at every single one of our product managers, and if you were to ask them, hey, I'm building a feature, and I would ask them, what do you think the incremental GMV of that feature would look like? They would be able to layer up all of their metrics to say, hey, if I improve search and search conversion rate, I can see how that impacts our conversion rate to order, impacting our orders per customer, impacting net orders to Talabat, and impacting our GMV. And I can predict to you that I think that there is an upside of 2% of growth, 3% of growth for Talabat if we invest in this functionality. The ability for product leaders to be able to go up and down the stack to say, hey, we understand, we're solving a customer problem, and being able to layer that up into here's how we think the commercial impact should be is a very powerful conversation to have. Because when product and design and data and engineering leaders can speak in terms of commercial impact, suddenly they're head-to-head with all of their commercial counterparts in actually prioritizing work. So that's something that we're really obsessed about, which is every single one in the product organization needs to be able to understand customers deeply, needs to understand what tech is able to enable, but most importantly, how they can impact the business. But it's a lot of work. And this is the one thing that no one tells you. So back in the days of 15 years ago, where the PM was the Agile Transformation leader, life was actually pretty easy. You come in the morning, you do your stand-up, you triage some bugs, you write some Jira tickets, and the day sort of just goes on. But suddenly, you need to be the voice of the customer. Okay, so you're out, you're doing research, you're going to speak to customers. It's not just a research team that goes talk to users. Now you have to show up and actually listen to users. Okay, so you do that. Okay, then I need to write reports on, and findings and insights. Okay, then I need to run workshops, with the design team, with the engineering team, with the commercial team, and suddenly that's a full, engaged thing. And now you want me to drive commercial impact. So suddenly I need to understand the P&L of the business. I need to layer things up and down. The product roles at Talabat became a lot more complex. And that's what we're battling with. The reality is that the PM scope, the product management scope, has gotten a lot more challenging over the last 5 years. But that's a good thing. But the reality is we only have a certain number of hours in the day. And so the opportunity here to answer is how might we unlock the capability and capacity to make product decisions, but in a quicker way. I didn't have an answer. I didn't have an answer at all until very recently. And as for a very long time, I ignored the power of a lot of these AI tools that are out there because I felt they were a bit gimmicky, right? Obviously, all of us use ChatGPT at some point in our lives. And I was like, yeah, okay, these are interesting, tools that we can use. But it wasn't quite recently when I got some time to actually be in Singapore and I was ahead of the team in time zone by a few hours. And I had, I forced myself every day to play with some of these new tools on prototyping, on research. I realized, wow, our industry and our practice as product and design practitioners is about to flip over on its head, and it's going to be amazing. What the world looks like when the tools that we have allows us to 10x product discovery is going to really, really impact the quality of our decision-making in product organizations. And I hope you're as excited as I am about what that looks like. The revolution that we want to think about is almost akin to accounting before the world of Excel and spreadsheets. Imagine the world of people doing things by hand and suddenly having tools like Excel. You want to compare that to design. Back in the days when I was a designer, we were using Illustrator. Remember that? Okay, then you guys remember the transition to Sketch? And then Sketch didn't become cool anymore. Now it's Figma. And I think that in 5 years, Figma will be irrelevant if they don't catch up to how designers will be designing in the near future. And here's how I think it will change. Because I think that where a lot of product decisioning should actually move faster is in the stage of product discovery. In product discovery, you want to be able to generate as many ideas as possible out there and bringing out there and generating insights as much as you can to learn about what's resonating and what's not resonating with your customer base. Today, that's quite costly. I remember when I was a UX researcher back in the days. Do you guys remember the tool Balsamiq? Some of you are old enough to know that tool, yeah? We were making these Balsamiq mockups. What do? We ended up printing them, cutting them, having the stupid thing where you say, if you press a button, I have to change the screen. Yeah, we did all of that as UX researchers and designers back in the days, right? And then suddenly Figma has, ability for you to do clickable prototypes. And that was so cool. I think the new world is going to be even more effective and even more exciting. Cost of validating ideas will be in a record low. And what we've been evolving as a discipline is speeding up this build, measure, learn loop, right? Remember back in the days it was difficult. Now it's gotten a little bit easier. It's about to get even easier. And that build, measure, learn loop where we can get ideas out there, test them, learn from them, iterate from them, it's going to get much easier. So I'm very excited to see what this looks like. Now, it's all talk, but I want to show you some demos about how this works, okay? All right. Here's how it looks like. Can we switch the slide to the next? My clicker is not working, or dramatic entry. Okay, the demo that's about to show up is using a tool called Lovable. And a few days ago, I wanted to see how quickly could I create a working Minesweeper game. You know, the game that you got in Windows 95? So I said, create a simple, mobile-friendly Minesweeper game. Less than 20 words, one prompt. Okay? So Lovable creates this little, AI engineer that's probably not ready for production code, but is building a prototype. it's going, and full transparency, this is running at 1.5x speed. But what it does on the left, it actually explains the thought process of what's happening. It's thinking, it's translating what I said with intent. Hey, I want to build a mobile game called Minesweeper. It's understanding what that looks like, right? On the right, code is being generated. In this case, web code is being generated. It's creating all the files, it's creating all the styles. You would imagine that a product like this kind of looks prototypey, you know, maybe a bit broken, maybe, you know, it's not really styled, maybe it's not customer ready. But what you'll find time and time and time again with tools like Lovable is that, man, the quality of some of this output is really something else. So it's going ahead, it's creating these components, and I should have, like in the cooking shows, you know, here's the chicken we prepared earlier. But here's what's happened. It's about to render on the right side. Give it a moment. Look at that. It has animations. It keeps score. It has a timer. It has a little flag. You can create a new game. One prompt. Less than 20 words. This is how I think the world of design will evolve. I see a world where you have designs and design systems plugged into tools like Lovable, and designers may not be dragging and dropping things anymore. Perhaps we're a few prompts away from being able to generate, going from idea to a prototype. Perhaps we're in a world where if you want to test an idea, you can start your day with a prototype, have 10 customer interviews lined up. As customers give you insights, you have a team in the back ready to modify your experience and actually showing the next customer a different iteration, and the third customer another iteration, and the fourth customer another iteration. And by the end of the day, you have a very different looking product based on customer impact, customer feedback that you get. Just imagine the world that we have if we're able to build, measure, and learn so much more quickly. And why is that powerful? Again, it's because great product ideas are a dime a dozen. But the ones that are validated through customer feedback that we can refine on and build on, that's where the value is. Being able to early on in product discovery really figure out what exactly is going to be a hit. So I think that's really going to change our world. I did something very similar, another clickable prototype for Talabat. I said, create a Talabat Pay mobile page that has the ability for people to see the Talabat credit balance, top up their credit, see the last 20 transactions. And what you realize if you open your Talabat app, it looks pretty similar to our Talabat Pay screen. And this was, again, I don't know, less than 50 words and one prompt, right? So I think product discovery as we know it is going to radically change. I'm very excited for that world. What about research? A big part of our product team's job is to research, competitive analysis, what's best in class, what's not. How many of you guys have played around with Gemini Deep Research? Very good. More than the last crowd I asked this for in Dubai. So you guys are ahead. But like I asked it to say, can you give me a breakdown of the ad products of our, you know, the big food delivery players in the world, Meituan in China, DoorDash in the US, Deliveroo in the UK, how it contributes to their revenues, and use publicly available data like investor reports to produce that. It goes ahead, it scours through hundreds of websites, and boom, 5 minutes later, 6 to 10 pages, well-cited research report that walks through the contributions of ads to all the different publicly listed businesses and how, you know, how the business model works. So to get from 0 to 60 and a lot of ideas as product people, and we've come a very, very long way to allow you to really speed up your learning. So what does that mean for us? There's no more excuse to learn any topic. Any topic under the sun, you should be able to get from 0 to 60 pretty quickly. If you want to break into a new vertical, you want to break and build into a new product line, you want to attack a new market, you want to learn about any topic, pick your topic, getting 0 to 60 has gone a lot easier. And through that, it should enable teams to also create and generate ideas quicker. And if prototyping is getting quicker, that's amazing. Let's get that output through the roof. Now, what is the one thing, though, that I think we should not automate? I think the one thing we shouldn't automate is customer interaction. If you somehow found another hour or 2 hours in the day, how I would spend it as a product person is spend time with my customers. That's the thing that I would spend time on, right? So I think it enables product organizations to do that. And lastly, allows them to speed up the learning cycles for the team. So how do we stay relevant? I don't know all the answers, but this is how I think we can stay relevant. So here are the 5 tips I have for all of you in the world of AI tooling and this new world of product management. 5 tips on how to stay relevant. Number 1, be curious. I probably wasn't curious enough for a very long time. And 3 weeks ago, something opened up and I was curious. I said, wow, like, let me see how some of these tools work and let me try it. Because I don't know if my teams are using it and I want to know once and for all whether this is useful or not. So I tried it myself. And when you try it and you see the potential, jump in when you see that potential. You're like, wow, I can see how this evolves. But also recognize that you need to be optimistic. The tools today are not perfect. But if you remember where things were a year ago or 2 years ago with AI, you realize that we've come exponentially a long way. And so a lot of things are going to evolve and a lot of things are going to change. You just have to ride the wave. Bring your team with you, right? 2 weeks ago, we had a product all hands at Talabat where I was live demoing how to use some of these tools. And we were going through the successes and failures of some of the outputs of the prototypes because we don't know, and let's learn together as an organization. That's our job as product leadership. Thirdly, build AI literacy. I truly believe that in a similar way, there was a sea change where, 5 years ago, I started asking product managers questions about how they do customer interviews. How, when was the last time they took a customer insight and turned that into a product feature decision? Or how the things that they've shipped, how are they making decisions based on data? When you see a sea change of how expectations of PMs change, you also see interview questions change. I'm about to start doing that. I'm about to start asking questions whenever I interview someone. Hey, how are you using AI today to accelerate your product learning? How are you using AI today to accelerate your ability to learn from customers and get those insights? Our industry is about to add this as an expectation, and all of you and all of us here need to find a way to really, get up to speed of what that expectation looks like. Don't be a lazy thinker. I think what I'm seeing a lot also is when AI tools exist, we fall back on AI tools to do all the thinking for us. But everyone should be using AI tools as an assistant, as a counterpart, as a sparring partner to thinking, as opposed to doing the thinking for you. I think when you're able to steer some of these tools in the right direction based on your thinking, it's 10x more powerful. And I don't think the AI tools are going to make amazing product managers. I think amazing product managers are going to use AI tools to help them become even more successful. That's what's going to happen. And lastly, my only encouragement to you guys after all of this is to remember that we're building products for humans at the end of the day. That's why we exist. That's why we're here. That's why we're builders. We're not builders, just because we can spit out some code and, make some money along the way. We're building products that customers love, that can move the business forward. But first and foremost, we're here to build products that customers love. And humans are emotional. And humans are walking and breathing creatures. And if you have the opportunity to save time using AI tools and you're creating your prototypes and research, where should you be spending that time? Understanding humans. Because it's through understanding humans and the people that you're building for that allows you to build better products. So whatever you do, remember that there's a human at the end of the day that's going to be using your product, and really put your eye on the prize of making sure that that person's super happy. By extension, there are some of these tools out there that are trying to automate this part of the product development cycle, right? Have you heard of these tools that create synthetic users that you can now, put a prototype in front of an AI bot that can simulate what your users could look like? I don't love them because I think that it takes away from the essence of product, which is building products that customers love. So maybe I'm old school, maybe I'm romantic in the idea of what I think product teams should be like, but I very much feel like I want to be in a world where I can continue to build products for humans. So all said and done, thank you so much for listening to my little speech on how I think the world of product management is going to turn upside down, and how, at Talabat, we've evolved the product discipline from, one where PMs were there to operationally run the team, to one where they were representing customers, to one where we were able to build a product-led company, and how I think we're going to evolve the product discipline once again. But in the beginning, I talked about how we really believe in the future of Egypt as a tech hub, and that my mission and Talabat's mission is to really build Cairo as the first and foremost, most exciting and best tech hub in the region. As part of that commitment, there's one more thing that we're here to announce. We haven't announced it publicly yet, but today we will. We're actually announcing that Talabat will, for the first time in Cairo, be opening up our new grad internship program. We will be starting in H2 of this year across all disciplines of PM, design, data, and engineering. Stay tuned of what that will look like. We'll be announcing that across our different channels. But again, we're super excited about the growth of the tech discipline here in the region, and very much looking forward to continuing to grow here in Cairo. So with that, thank you all so much for having me, and you can find me on my blog here or my Instagram channel. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yue.